Your life is now. Your life is now. Your life is now. In this undiscovered moment, lift your head up above the crowd. We could sing this world if you would only show us how. Your life is now. Your life is now. Your life is now. Your life is now.
So friends, what are you going to do with your day today? More to the point, what are you going to do if you knew today would be your last upon this earth? Would that change anything? There's a man named Paul who had cancer, and it was time for him to prepare for his death. I feel ready to go, he said reflectively, but sometimes I just wish I had more time. Paul's voice carried so much sadness, mingled with acceptance, melancholy softened with gentle peace. In a moment like this, much is bittersweet. Some of our dreams have come true, some have not. There is a readiness to die accompanied by an equally passionate wish to live. He goes on to say, I know it's time, but I also wish I could stay here. A tentative wish offered against the growing impossibility of its coming true. I wish, he said, I wish I had 10 more years free from this illness. Oh, with those 10 years, I would really live as I always wanted. That sentence vibrated in the air, this wish for life. It echoes through the souls of all of us who will someday die. What would you do if we could give you those 10 years, was the question that came to him. What would your life look like? Wow, such words to reflect upon. These come from Wayne Muller's book, How Then Shall We Live? Most of us don't live fully, shall we say, because we don't pay attention to what is coming right at us, straight at us all. We just ignore it. We put it aside. We don't want to talk about that thing called death. But indeed, our lives are just liminal, and sooner or later we will come to that boundary known as death. And with that reminder of what is waiting for each of us on the horizon, with that reminder of our own mortality drawing ever closer, ever nearer, let's just pause right now and look at our life. Look at life and our relationships and our devotion to our Lord and see if there's anything we need to realign ourselves to the life-giving ways of God. Because after all, this is part of the Lenten journey, you see. With days that the story that probably it's going to lead all the way up to a cross and a tomb and to the great beyond. Lent is this time to live like we're dying. Through these days of preparation and reflection, we too live, we die, and we rise again with Christ. But we should also remember that Jesus said, I've come that you might have life and have it abundantly. And so let me rephrase my opening question to you one more time. If you knew today would be your last on earth, what are you going to do today in order to abundantly live the life which Jesus came to give you? You know, some of the richest people these days are those that know that their days are numbered, I think. They know they can't wait any longer for someday to come. If there was something they always wanted to do, well, guess what? Now better be the time that you do it. If there were risks that they were afraid of taking earlier on, well, maybe not anymore. Maybe let's go for it. If there are words that need to be said and gestures to be shared of love, apologies that need to be spoken, or forgiveness that needs to be extended, wrongs to be righted, they aren't waiting anymore. Now's the time. I better do this now. That urgency is before them. They're living in, I call it the eternal moment of now. The eternal moment of now. And many of them are living it to the fullest in ways that may have nothing to do with the physical. And their message to us, I think, is often, wake up, do the same. Live in that eternal moment of the now. How blessed we would be if we lived like we were dying. For some, what does this abundant life look like? Well, for some, the abundant life means doing the things that you really wanted to, but you kept putting it off, or you've been avoiding. But for others, abundant life may simply be a reminder to fully embrace and cherish the simple things that are in your life right now. You know, in his book, Tuesdays with Maury, the author Mitch Albom interviews one of his old college professors. And the college professor is nearing his death, and he would go in and visit him every Tuesday until he parted. And on the second to last Tuesday before this man's death, Mitch asks his friend, who has been bedridden for 16 years, what he would do if he had one last day to be perfectly healthy. What would you do? 24 hours? Yeah, 24 hours. What would you do? Well, let's see. I'd get up in the morning. I'd do my exercises. I'd have a lovely breakfast of sweet rolls and tea. Go for a swim. Then I'd have my friends come over for a nice lunch. And I'd have them come one or two at a time only, so that we could talk about their families and their issues, and talk about how much that we mean to each other. Then I like to go for a walk. I like to go for a walk, preferably in a garden with trees, and watch their colors. Watch the birds. Take in the nature that I haven't seen for so long now, he said. And in the evening, he goes on, in the evening we'd all go together to a restaurant, someplace that served pasta and maybe duck, because I love duck. And then we would dance. We would dance the rest of the night away, and I would dance with all those wonderful dance partners out there until I was exhausted. And then I would go home and have a deep, wonderful sleep. To which Mitch then says, "That's it?" "Yeah, that's it." It was so Simple? So average? Mitch goes on to say, I was actually a little disappointed. I don't know, I figured he'd fly off to Italy, or want to have lunch with the president, or romp on the seashore, or do any exotic thing that he'd been thinking about. But after all these months, I guess, of lying there, unable to move a leg or even a foot, how could he find perfection in such an average day? And then I realized, he writes, this was the whole point. Many who are facing their mortality due to an incurable disease have perspectives that the rest of us are probably wise to pay attention to, probably heed for our own lives. Now, a friend of mine and yours here at Good Sam and I were talking recently, and he is in the throes of a long-term debilitating disease for which there is no known cure as of yet. And I asked him if this reality changed his perspectives on life at all. He says, it's changed the shape of a lot of stuff. I approach my days with a more simplified lifestyle, more straightforward. I find myself leaving more things undone. I make more space for relationships now, and have discovered the importance of really paying attention to whom I am relating with and how we are interrelating. We all need to take time to really look at each other and what we're doing. There are so many things which really aren't worth doing, like holding a grudge. Yeah. Also, I find it fun these days to simply sit back and watch the world go by. It's wonderful. So for some, abundant life means doing the things that you really wanted to do but have kept putting off or avoiding. But for others, it means fully appreciating the simple things that you may currently be taking for granted, the simple things and the people who make your days so special. And for still others, it means recognizing that the moment to cherish is with you right now. And don't be distracted, or you may miss it. You may miss it. We sometimes have this, we presume we are immortal, though we go, no, I don't. Yeah, we do. We think we're immortal, and this permits us to be sloppy and imprecise in our actions, our words, our attitudes. We can procrastinate. Of course we can, for we fool ourselves into believing that, we'll get to it another day. And so we are not so careful with what we say and what we choose to do with our precious time right now. Well, honestly, the trivia needs our attention. The trivial is right there demanding that I do it. Or should it really be doing that? Which leads us into our scripture for today. It's found in Luke chapter 10. I thought for a long time, what an odd set of verses to put in here. Why is this story in the Bible? Well, here's the story first, and then we'll look at it together. And as they continued their travel, Jesus entered a village. A woman by the name of Martha welcomed him and made him feel quite at home. She had a sister, Mary, who sat before the master, hanging on every word he said, but Martha was pulled away by all that she had to do in the kitchen. And later she stepped in, interrupting them. Master, don't you care that my sister has abandoned the kitchen to me? Tell her to lend me a hand. And the master said, Martha, dear Martha, you're fussing far too much and getting yourself worked up over nothing. One thing is essential, and Mary has chosen it. It's the main course and won't be taken from her. Don't miss the moments which are right in front of you. See, here's where I made sense of this passage. It's like I can see Luke sitting there trying to write down all these important stories that were highly significant in their lives and be ready to pass them on to people who didn't know Jesus. And here's what this is about. And even you too can come home, all these different things. And I imagine that somewhere along the way, Martha comes along, takes a look over his shoulder, taps him, and says, now, Luke, don't forget my story. Don't forget my story. You remember the one where Jesus came to town and I was fussing in the kitchen and I got all upset and said, tell my sister to come help me. And he said, no. He said, no. She's doing the right thing. And I was shocked at first, but then I stepped back and I could see her going, I realized he was right. And I remember that so vividly. It was the most important moment in my spiritual journey. And I picture her then going, oh, I'm missing it. And taking off her apron and putting it aside and sitting down next to her sister and listening to Jesus. It's like she's saying, Luke, you better tell my story, because there's a lot of people out there who are like me. They're going to miss out on things if they're just so busy fussing all the time. Sometimes we just wait too long, thinking we'll have tomorrow to do the things we want to do. Okay, another quick little story. And it's a story I'm going to tell you about my white alb. My alb is this vestment that I'm wearing and things, okay? I'll tell you this was, I purchased it. It wasn't new. It was practically new. It was relatively unused at all, okay? And it belonged to a man I didn't know, okay? I got it while I was in seminary, and he too was in seminary until recently, and I saw this ad that he was selling it, and I needed an alb, and I thought, I'll go check this out. And he, gracious man, brought me in, and yada yada, sure, but why are you selling it? Well, I don't need it anymore. I just discovered that I'm dying of AIDS. Death was coming sooner than expected in his young life. This man's future dreams of studying the ways of God and sharing grace with all the people around him suddenly were not to be, had he spoken of grace enough. But he would not have the chance to wear this alb. He would not have the chance to wear this alb and invite people into the love of Christ. This alb would not be worn by him whenever he would be breaking bread and pouring wine for all to enjoy. This alb would not be upon him as he invited everyone to come to the table that was open to them. This alb would not be there on his shoulders as the waters of baptism would be poured and splashed, and joy of welcome to the community would be shared. This alb would not be there to be upon his body when he was going to be lighting candles for Christmas Eve or blessing unions with words and love. And so every time now that I wear this alb, during sacraments. I usually wear them during sacraments and special church rituals. I'm keenly aware that someday my impending death will also come, sooner or later, and the alb will probably need to continue its journey on another. I'm not going to be buried in it. It's going to go forward with the next person. Does that make me sad? That's not quite the right word. Not really. But it does. Every time I put this on, it makes me cherish the moment I get to put it on. I get to put it on and stand at gatherings like this with wonderful people like you. And it brings me joy to know that the alb is part of these, and I'm a part of these. And to cherish this moment. So would having a terminal illness somehow give the rest of us permission to finally live more gently, live more easily, not be so rushed, not be so anxious? Would the diagnosis somehow allow us, if we were to hear that for ourselves, to let go of the many cumbersome responsibilities that all those expectations, all those things that we put upon ourselves or others have laid upon us, and to begin to more thoroughly enjoy life? Is that what we're waiting for? Do we really have to see the end coming at us in order to feel such joy to be alive each day? I hope not. I hope we can embrace that right now. The terminally ill tell us things like, I am much happier now, life is lighter. Message, let your life be lighter now. There's a Roman poet I'm going to close with here. His name is Horace. He used the phrase carpe diem. You know that phrase, carpe diem, to express the idea that one should enjoy life while one can. He wrote, I think he wrote this in the year 23 BCE. And you may recognize the phrase because it's often translated, seize the day. But a more exact or literal translation of carpe diem would actually be pluck the day. Pluck the day. Pluck the day. Because the phrase carpe diem is rooted in the sensory experience of nature. It is a horticultural metaphor related to the picking, harvesting, plucking, gathering of ripening fruit and blossoming flowers. You ever go to a winery and they go, no, it's that field over there. You got to get out there today to get it at its best. Don't let it stay on the vine too long. Don't pluck it early. Seize the day right now. Pluck the day. This is when it is at its best. Yeah, the fruit is ripe. Pick it. The flowers are in bloom. Gather them now. Enjoy this moment before it's too late. Do it now, when it's best. Gather ye rosebuds while ye may. Old time is still a-flyin'. And this same flower that smiles today, tomorrow will be dying. So the point of all this is not the death, it's not cancer. The point is the light which, like cancer, sheds on life. Our liberation begins when we surrender to our mortality. More precisely, we must surrender our illusion that we will not die. We must surrender our illusion that we will not die. So, back to my original question. If you knew today would be your last on earth, what are you going to do today in order to live abundantly the life which Jesus came to give you? I will say, coming together with like-hearted souls to freely and joyfully praise your Creator, to sing songs with the depths of your soul, to be blessed and to be a blessing to someone else. That's a great way to start this final day. And then what? And then what? Pluck the day, my friends. The time is ripe. Pluck the day.